You should teach a course on how to buy businesses at cheap, great prices during economic downturn times, especially when the owner is retiring. And I think you could tell, or could see rather, that I was paraphrasing a comment that I received from one of the viewers here. And I have gotten a lot of comments on this video that I produced. And the video is, "What is your business worth? Confessions of a businessman who sold too low." And I've got about 100,000 views on that video, which in YouTube land isn't a huge amount, but it was a lot of views from folks who are interested in trying to figure out, how do you value a business? I mean, it's not the easiest thing in the world to do. But I gave a lot of information, helped quite a few people. I can tell you that because I got a lot of comments. And here we are today. I'm answering another question that I get from viewers. And the person wants to know, how do you buy a business in a time when the economy isn't doing the best? How do you buy a distressed business? Well, I'm going to answer that question. And I'm going to answer the question because I get this same question all the time. And what I'll do is I'll share with you my formula for buying a distressed business, or how to find and buy a distressed business. That's all up next, right here on Side Hustle Rules. Come on! Welcome back to Side Hustle Rules. My name is Lou Reyes. For those of you who aren't familiar with me, I'm a startup consultant. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I spent my entire career building things. I built a chain of business-to-business magazines, started a weekly newspaper, started 2 national trade show companies. I ran a radio program, a weekly radio show, and I started almost a dozen other businesses. And all those businesses I started from scratch. Now, I'm also the director of Over50TV.com. That's a new website I launched just about 60 days ago or so at the time of shooting this video. And I also run the Over 50 TV and this channel, the Side Hustle Rules YouTube channel. So today what I want to do is I just want to really talk about what it takes to find and buy a distressed business. And when I looked at that comment, I thought it was kind of interesting. When I got the comment from that fellow, I'm assuming it was a guy. It could have been a lady as well. But when I got the comment and I read it, I thought, you know what, it's everybody's dream. Yeah, we want to find, at least if we're looking to buy a business or be in business, it's everybody's dream. Let's find a distressed business. Let's find something that we can buy cheaply and, buy it cheap and run it and make a lot of money. And then maybe some of us think, yeah, we'll buy it, fix it, sell it. Well, you know what? Finding those distressed business, that is not an easy thing to do. I don't care if the economy is good, if the economy is bad. You've just got to find that right circumstance. So let's just get into this a little bit more. And let me just tell you what a distressed company is. A distressed company is a company that's unable to generate sufficient revenue or income. They're not able to pay or meet their financial obligations. And this is usually due to high fixed costs. It could be an industry that is sensitive to economic downturns. And we see a lot of that in business. But, financial distress is also can arise from the business owner's poor budgeting, or maybe they're overspending, or they've just got too high a debt. I've seen cases where there's been lawsuits against a business, and the business owner has got to fight the lawsuits. They're spending a lot of money on legal fees, and you know what? That's it. They don't have the money to run their business. If you're looking to buy a business, you want to get a business or buy that business before it gets to the point where there's no saving it. Having said all that, a distressed company can represent an attractive acquisition target. The question I want to answer now is, how do you find a distressed company? And what I'm going to do is just give you some suggestions, some ideas. If I was your consultant, your business consultant, you came to me and you said, "Hey, Lou, I want to buy a distressed company, and how do I do it?" Well, I'm going to be looking at you and I'm going to be asking you a bunch of questions. But then once the questions are answered, then what we're going to do is we're going to do a series of steps to find a distressed company. And number one, what I always suggest is, have you been keeping track of your competitors and their business? Because what happens many times is, if you're keeping track of your competitors, they know what competitors are strong, what competitors are struggling, and what competitors are on the precipice. So what is your competition like? I'm also going to be looking at industry trends. When you're in a business, there are going to be a lot of costs involved, and sometimes when those costs rise too high, say for example you're in the trucking business and your fuel costs are just skyrocketing, well then there are some businesses that can't weather that storm, and those costs can negatively affect that business, and that business may be looking to bail to get out. So I'm going to be looking at that too. Now, another way to find a distressed business is to always network. And I say this all the time, is networking is critical, but you want to participate in industry events. You want to keep abreast of industry trends. So talking to folks in your industry can be a huge, huge help, just staying on top of what's going on. And what I find is these events are always good to uncover what's going on with your competitors, good and bad. Another thing, communicate with your suppliers. When you do that, you're going to find out things. You're going to find out things in an instant, that there are opportunities out there that are just going to present themselves. You're talking to a supplier who happens to say, hey, did you know that XYZ company is looking at selling, or Z M2, whatever company is looking at, actually they're looking at just selling off their assets. And when you find those kinds of things out, selling the company or selling assets, you can really swoop down and you can oftentimes get a great opportunity. But keep in mind, things go wrong or can change in an instant. You've just got to be ready to pounce. Another thing you can do, which I highly, highly recommend, is talk to your banker. Find a banker who talks to a lot of business people. Talk to your lawyers or other lawyers. Maybe there's a lawyer in the law firm that you're working with who says, hey, Lou, there's a business that's going to be coming up for sale, or they've got some issues. They're a distressed company. Think about giving them a call, see what you can do, Lou. Accountants, I've always gotten great information from accountants. An accountant, yeah, I get it. More often than not, attorneys and accountants, you know what? They're not going to want to tell you about their customers, and they shouldn't, and they don't, but they may tell you about other companies that are distressed. So investment bankers, lawyers, accountants, they're great sources for information about distressed companies. How do you buy a distressed business? Well, there are 3 approaches that I will tell you about right now. Number 1 is you could follow them. If they go into bankruptcy, they file a Chapter 11, which is basically a reorganization phase. If they go into bankruptcy, you can talk to the attorneys. You can have your attorneys talk to their attorneys, and maybe what you can do is figure out a way that you can go ahead and you can get involved with that company, maybe become a lender, or you could also just buy that company outright. That's something that you'd have to talk to the attorneys with. Another thing is you start negotiating early with that distressed company. You find out that they're having problems before they go into a bankruptcy, and this could be a large or a small business. Before they go into bankruptcy, you start negotiating early with them. When you do that, it's likely the seller is going to become progressively weaker, and that puts you in a better position. But when you negotiate early, you let them know that you're there, you're willing, you're able to purchase that business. That's an approach to take. Another one, talk to lenders. Explore, when you're talking to a lender, explore ways that lender will allow the borrower, the person who owns the money, allows them to exit the company. Talk to a lender. If you're talking to them, you get in there early with the business owner, you're talking to them, and they tell you what's going on. You find out who that lender is, who their lender is, and you say, hey, listen, let me talk to your lender. Let me see what I can work out. Another approach you could take is just purchase specific assets. If it's a small business, and I just saw this not too long ago, it was a laundromat, a chain of laundromats, and they were having a difficult time. There were some lease issues with some of the properties they had, and they were just like, they wanted to get out. So there was an opportunity to buy equipment, and that's something that you could consider doing, is buying specific assets. You could buy an intellectual property as well. You can buy customer lists. You can buy different parts of that business rather than the entire business, but that's also an option or an approach. So let me summarize this for you. Buying a distressed business is an opportunity. But once you found that target, you really need to assess your ability to turn that business around. You've got to be realistic about the risk. You've got to consider, you should consider how to limit the downside, because there's always going to be a downside to buying a distressed business. And I find a lot of folks, when they're looking at a distressed business, what they're doing is they're such optimists. They think they're better. They think they know everything. They think they can go in there and they can just turn that around so quickly. And you know what? It doesn't happen that often, at least not that quickly. So consider your downside. Just give. I'm going to say it a second and a third time. Give deep thought on how you can run that business differently. And think about what additional resources you're going to have to put into that business. And what I will tell you this, what I've found many times, is it usually takes more than what you plan on putting into that business to turn it around. So just wanted to give you some options here and really just let you know how you can go ahead and find a distressed business and how you can buy it. A lot more information. I've just barely covered the surface of this. If you've got any questions, you can always send me a message. You can email me. I am a business consultant, so if you want to book some time with me, let me know that too. I'd be happy to talk to you. We can do a Zoom. Could do a phone call, whatever you're comfortable with. All right, my friends, that's all I got for you. I do want to mention, though, if you consider subscribing to this channel. Also, I do have a Patreon page, Side Hustle Rules Patreon page. You can always go on there, become a member, and I do publish infrequently on that page. I'm planning on publishing more frequently, but it is a real good resource if you want business information. That's all I got for you. Have a great day, everybody. Come on.